The email hit my phone while the applause was still echoing somewhere above me. I remember that part clearly because it felt almost comedic, like bad timing written by someone with a cruel sense of humor. Divorce filing confirmed. That was it. No explanation, no warning. Just a legal confirmation delivered exactly 8 minutes after the press release naming my wife, now my ex apparently, as the new CEO of Ardentix Solutions. 8 minutes. You can't make that up. I was standing in the lobby holding a paper cup of coffee I hadn't touched, watching her face on the giant screen behind the reception desk, smiling like she'd just conquered the world. And maybe she had. Just not the way everyone thought. Security didn't even look uncomfortable when they asked for my badge. One of them said my name like he was apologizing, the other already had his hand out waiting. My access was gone. Floors, I'd worked on rooms, I'd helped design strategies, and suddenly off limits. Upstairs, champagne glasses clinked. Downstairs, I was escorted out like an afterthought. I stepped into the rain with a cardboard box that felt insultingly light. A charger, a notebook, a jacket I didn't even like. 10 years of marriage reduced to office leftovers. I laughed out loud at that point, a short, bitter sound. If anyone saw me, they probably thought I'd lost it. Yeah, maybe I had just not in the way they assumed. The thing is, people had always assumed the wrong things about me. That I was the quiet one because I was weak. That I stayed in the background because I didn't matter. Even my wife used to joke about it back when jokes still felt harmless. "You're my calm," she'd say, smiling. What she meant, I'd learn later, was that I didn't interfere. I didn't ask uncomfortable questions. I didn't take up space. And for a long time, I thought that was love. I thought shrinking was support. Turns out, shrinking just makes it easier for someone to step over you. That first night, I sat in a cheap hotel room staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The late nights I spent fixing her slides. The meetings I skipped so she wouldn't feel overshadowed. The way I never mentioned my last name in the office even though it opened doors everywhere else. Carter, my father's name, founder of Ardentix. The man everyone credited with the company's backbone, even though he'd stepped away years ago. I'd spent my adult life pretending that connection didn't exist, wanting my work, my marriage, my identity to be clean of it. Funny thing is, the one time it actually mattered, my wife used it without hesitation. The next morning, my bank app froze my accounts. That's when it clicked. This wasn't emotional. This wasn't messy. This was calculated. Lawyers, advisors, a checklist. She hadn't just left me, she'd neutralized me. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in yesterday's clothes, and felt something settle in my chest. Not anger yet. Clarity. People don't move that fast unless they're scared of something catching up. And suddenly, I remembered the contract I'd seen on her desk weeks earlier. Thick paper. Heavy letterhead. A signature at the bottom I recognized instantly. My father's. He'd approved something. Something big. Something she didn't want questioned. I didn't call him right away. Pride is a stubborn thing. But by noon, with my name quietly disappearing from internal directories and a rumor already floating online about a supportive spouse stepping aside, I sent a message. Short. Direct. "We need to talk." He called back in under a minute. Didn't ask why. Just gave me an address and a time. That alone told me everything. His office overlooked the river, all glass and restraint, like a place designed to remind you that power doesn't need to shout. When I walked in, he looked at me for a long second and said, "You look like hell," not unkindly. We sat. No small talk. He slid a folder across the table but didn't open it. The timing of her filing was aggressive, he said. I almost smiled. That's one word for it. He exhaled slowly. She moved faster than expected. That usually means pressure. Then he looked straight at me. "What do you want?" "I want to know what she agreed to," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "and why she needed me gone before anyone could ask questions." That's when he opened the folder. Not accusations, not conclusions, just patterns. Accelerated approvals, overridden objections, compliance notes buried under performance metrics. Nothing illegal on its own. Together, though it looked like a house built too fast on wet cement. "I don't like surprises tied to my signature," he said. In his world, that was as close to anger as it got. The real shift happened 2 days later when a woman named Lena reached out from a number I didn't recognize. "I work in compliance," she said when we met by the river. She didn't sit comfortably. She kept scanning the path like she expected someone to appear. "Your divorce," she said quietly, wasn't personal. It was insulation. That word stuck with me, insulation. She told me about rushed audits, altered logs, a consultant named Marcus who specialized in making problems disappear. My wife had aligned with him, thought it would protect her. What she hadn't realized, Lena said, was that protection only flows one way. Lena handed me a list of dates and names. "I can't go public," she said, almost apologetic. "But I can't pretend I didn't see this." When she walked away, I understood something important. This wasn't about me being humiliated. It was about me being useful as a distraction. The quiet husband, the unstable ex, the story everyone could focus on while the real risks stayed hidden. The last piece landed like a punch I saw coming, but still felt in my bones. Lena intercepted a recording marked for deletion. A private call between my wife and Marcus. I listened to it alone in that same hotel room sitting on the edge of the bed. They talked about optics, about timing, about how the divorce would clear the surface before the board started asking questions. No affection, no regret, just strategy. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I encrypted the file and sent it to my lawyer and my father. Then I sat there for a long time staring at the wall, letting the truth settle. What followed wasn't dramatic. No raids, no headlines at first, just meetings, reviews, suspensions framed as temporary. When my wife finally called me, her voice was tight controlled. "This has gone too far," she said. I almost laughed. "Questions don't go too far," I replied. "They go where answers lead." She hung up. An hour later, her access was revoked. Standing under an awning in the rain again, I remembered that first night how small I'd felt holding that box. The difference was, this time, I wasn't being pushed out. I was standing still. The fallout spread quietly. Executives stepped back. Consultants vanished. The company survived slower and more cautious. The divorce finalized without theatrics. Equality, I learned, feels like punishment to someone who expected control. Months passed. I rebuilt deliberately. No titles, no announcements. I worked with organizations that wanted to fix cracks before they became collapses. My father and I spoke more, not warmly at first, but honestly. One night he said I should have asked how you were. That wasn't an apology. It was alignment. It was enough. Here's the part people don't always like. There was no moment where I felt victorious. No satisfaction in watching her fall. What I felt was lighter than that, cleaner. I wasn't underestimated anymore because I wasn't hiding. I learned that being quiet isn't weakness unless you're using it to erase yourself. Walking away isn't losing unless you believe staying broken counts as winning. So I'll leave you with this. How many people have you seen dismissed because they didn't perform power loudly enough? How many times have systems protected speed over integrity, optics over truth? And when it comes down to it, what do you think matters more, being chosen by the system or choosing yourself before it decides you're disposable? Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me if you've seen something like this play out, and if you want more stories about power betrayal and the moments people stop being underestimated. Make sure you subscribe.